Supply chain issues are forcing us to implement the highest price increase ever. How can we manage that?
Well, congratulations. What an opportunity. When price increases are necessary, when they're mandated, when we have to use them, it's a great opportunity for us to review not only our sales abilities, but our positions in the marketplace and maybe look for some innovative ways of addressing our markets and selling in the future. The key principle here is people don't buy on price. They buy based on perceived value. And when the price goes up, we need to show the customer, demonstrate to the customer what our value is, not just our price. So let's look at what we can do with this supply chain issue. Your relationships with your buyers are about to change. Your cost has gone up. Your prices will have to increase in order for you to maintain your profitability. Same thing for them. When your cost to them goes up, they will have to raise their prices as well. Relationship selling is a redundant term. You have relationships with your buyers and they're about to change. Relationship selling is a redundant term. You see, companies don't do business with companies. People do business with people. And whatever the relationship is built on will be used to take the relationship away from us. If we build a relationship on price, somebody's always going to have a lower price. If we build a relationship on features and benefits, somebody's going to come along with a new bell or whistle. But if we build our relationships on value, the competition will have a hard time taking the account away from us. If you announce, let's say, a 5% rate increase or price increase, you'll probably have a competitor that will announce a 4% rate increase. These are people who buy and sell on price. The buyers out there who are probably not doing business with you right now anyway are the ones who are too price sensitive to understand the value that you bring to the table. So there's always going to be somebody with a lower price. A competitor is going to announce a 4% price increase. Are you prepared for that? This is the key to managing these types of situations. Preparation. You see, if you have a plan, you can respond to the issue, the situation. You can respond quickly, you can respond profitably primarily, and you can respond professionally. But if you don't have a plan, you're going to react. You and I have both been in situations where the customer threw us a curveball and we had to react because we weren't prepared. And when we react urgently, it's haphazardly. It's not as professionally as it could have been. Whenever my clients are having supply chain issues, typically it's a price increase, the first thing I ask them to do is look at their perspective of the supply chain. Is it just your vendor selling to you so that you sell to your buyer, or is there a bigger picture? Imagine you just climbed a very high mountain. What would your perspective be? Well, you would like to see the view, the vista that only a few people in the world are ever able to see. But if you were a rookie mountain climber, you'd be thinking about your feet. You'd be wondering if you're going to slip. You're a seasoned salesperson, look for the big picture. If you were a rookie salesperson, yeah, maybe you need to look a little closer. You're not ready for the big game yet. Let's do a quick case study. Let's say your product depends on metal. You take metal parts and pieces from other vendors and you use them in your product that you're selling to your buyers. And let's say the supply chain is having an event. Well, if we look at the supply chain, let's just use a chain here. How far back could you look to look at the cost associated with getting that metal part to you? You could start with the mine where they're going to bring in the ore. Then there would be some transportation costs to take that to the refinery where it would be smelted or formed into something else. And then there would be a transportation cost to take it to the fabricator that's going to make the parts and pieces specifically for you, and then there would be transportation cost for them to get that part finally to you. So if you look up the supply chain, there's a lot of places where the cost could increase and probably will over time. Now you want to address your buyer, so there's transportation cost to get your product to the buyer, and now here's your buyer. The buyer is looking maybe down your supply chain, but probably not. They're more interested in their own supply chain. How much do we know about their supply chain? What we want to look at is, how good are we at understanding how our increase in cost is going to impact our buyers' buyers? You see, we don't sell to, we sell through. We don't sell to, we sell through. Once you built your product, does your buyer take it and put it on a pedestal in their lobby so everybody can come in and see what great products they're buying? No. They take your product and add it to something else, and they move it down the chain, move it down their supply chain. What could we learn about their supply chain? So let's take a general look at supply chains. What do we know about supply chain issues? The first thing that we know is they can be anticipated. There are forecasts, there are predictions that we could look at. Transportation, for instance. When fuel costs go up excessively, all of us are going to have to pay more because of the multiple places where there's transportation involved in our supply chain. But remember this, they usually affect more than one organization, meaning your competitors facing the same thing. How will your response, how will your planning and your response, not reaction, compare to what the competition is doing? They prompt buyers, including us, to shop for alternatives. So if one of our competitors offers, they say, the same thing as us but at a lower price, you can't blame the buyer for moving over to them as an alternative. But are they really the same? And if they're only raising their prices 4% and you're raising yours 5%, how long will it be before they raise theirs another 1% just to become equitable with you? Your organization, you may consider other vendors. So think about this. The process that you are using internally to evaluate your vendors is the same process, or should be the same process, your buyers are using because it's the best possible process. Your organization and your buyers may consider alternate solutions, innovative solutions. Maybe we don't need to do it this way any longer. Maybe there's a bundling opportunity. Maybe there's an alternative product we could be using instead of metal. But the goal is always profitability. This is not a simple price increase. So we want to focus on how this price increase can be leveraged to help us and our buyers become more profitable. Have a plan and a contingency plan. You've heard of Plan B. Well, that's a contingency plan. If our first plan that we put together doesn't work, let's be ready to do something else. Announcing a price increase earlier is better than later. If you know the price increase is coming, go to your buyers as soon as possible. Let them know you're on top of it. You're doing everything you can to absorb the increase inside your organization, but let them know it's probably going to result in a price increase for them. Look for alternatives. Look for innovations. Look for different ways of selling and different ways of providing your product or service. Use what I call the 30-second MBA. Here's the entire curriculum from MBA school in 30 seconds. Here's a formula. Fill in the blanks in this formula. R minus E equals P. R minus E equals P. What does that stand for? Revenue minus expense equals profit. How can this price increase, while it's an increase in expense for your buyer, help them increase their profitability? Now, using this formula, R minus E equals P, there's a couple of ways you can increase your profit. The first one, of course, is to increase your revenue. So when you raise your price, your revenue will go up, but unfortunately, your expenses are going up as well, so you may not see a real uptick. The other one is to lower your expenses. Raise your prices or lower your expenses. What are you doing for your buyer? How are you helping your buyer increase their sales in the middle of a supply chain issue like this? First of all, ask your buyers. I'll show you how in a minute. Ask your buyers how they're going to respond to this issue. Then you offer yours. Now here's what happens. Whenever two minds come together, a third mind is created. So when you ask the buyers for their ideas and then you give them your ideas, don't be surprised if a third set of ideas doesn't start emerging on the table in the conversation. Then you can ask them, what are your competitors doing? What are their competitors doing? You want to get as much information on the table as possible to look at all the viable alternatives. What are your competitors doing with quality? If they're not going to raise their prices as much, they're going to have to cut something. Your competitors may say, we're going to have to extend our delivery times. We can no longer do overnight. We'll have to do second day. Quantify it. What's that going to cost your buyer? And then share everything you learn with your organization. Inside your organization, there are other sales professionals who need to learn from you. And again, you can learn from them. And when two minds come together, a third mind is created. So this is a great opportunity to be learning new ways to sell, new processes, new features and benefits. So you want coaching, training, and refreshers constantly. Coaching, training, and I believe in weekly in-house sales coaching and training sessions. So let's look at how you can inform your buyers and get information from your buyers about this price increase. There are two approaches we can take. One is the value-based approach, which is based on the Socratic method of selling. Socrates supposedly taught with questions, and so we've been taught, let's use questions. But there's a new form now called elicitation approach. And if you want some information on elicitation, you can go to elicitsales.com. Elicitation means we use smart statements instead of questions. It's the same thing the CIA and the FBI use when they're doing data gathering. So we could ask our buyer, our contact, how will your organization address the upcoming supply chain issues? How will your organization address? Now, there's an assumption built in this, that they understand the issues are coming and they've already decided how they will address them. An elicitation approach would be something like this. You've likely begun mapping out how your organization will handle the upcoming supply chain issues. It's not a question. You put a statement on the table. They usually respond to that. And they tell you, yes, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Another approach might be, well, how will the supply chain issues impact your buyers? Now look at what you're doing. You're looking at their supply chain, not just yours. They will appreciate that. I like it when someone helps me sell to my buyers. Of course, your buyers are going to appreciate when someone helps them sell to their buyers. The elicitation approach would be, your buyers are already feeling the effects of the supply chain issue. You're putting a statement on the table. They may or may not be aware of how important this is for their buyers, but you just brought value to the table with that particular statement. So let's summarize. See this as an opportunity to grow your offerings and your processes. This is a great opportunity to increase and improve your ability to serve your customers. Necessity is the mother of invention. A supply chain increase is going to be a mother of invention. Be open to innovations. Things you've never tried before. Be open and honest about them. Maybe there's a better way of doing things. What are others doing in your industry and other industries? If it's cost of fuel, let's say transportation cost, well, look at other industries. How are they responding to and addressing that? What can you learn? And of course, share best practices always by teaching others.